focus on, and Romans will do this, the Apostle Paul, what a world is like if they do not believe that there is a Creator and that Creator is God. So, because Paul's going to talk about that, and so we're going to begin here in the book of Romans, and we're asking ourselves what happens in a person's life when they dismiss God, the Creator God, from their lives. And I think that the Apostle Paul, in essence, addresses this. And we're going to look at what he has to say about it. And we're going to begin in verse 17 here. So this is verse 17 through the rest of the chapter. We'll not be in any other books today. So this will be very simple to follow along. And we're going to take it, as it were, verse by verse. For in the gospel, verse 17, a righteousness from God is revealed. A righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. So the Apostle Paul here is telling us that in the gospel, we learn something about the righteousness of God that maybe we would not know and or understand otherwise. Is there something that we learn? When we think about the gospel, we think about the good news. The message that Jesus brought is that he came to save sinners. He came to set captives free. He came to do, spread the good news of the grace of God, the hope of mankind, and the salvation of mankind. Jesus came to spread them and to help us to understand and to talk about not our righteousness, but the righteousness of God. And a righteousness that is imputed to us, not because that we are so good, but it's a righteousness that requires a faith, a trust in God. And when we think about that, when we look back in the book of Genesis, the Creator God, it's a trust in God. It's been a trust issue from the very beginning with God. That is, mankind doesn't trust God. And mankind doesn't want God telling him what to do. Mankind wants to make his own choices along that way. So when we think about people in a world that don't have a Creator God, how does that impact it? How does it impact us? How does it impact those individuals as well? Does God know anything more about us as man, as humanity, as the Creator? Does the Creator know more than the creation? That's, again, part of the question. And is God and man on equal footing? Because that is also part of the equation that we're going to read about here in the book of Romans. That is, we can choose and do, and we can decide who God is and what God is, and we're kind of on a same plane. It's an issue. Does the Creator have any say over His creation? Does He have any say on how it functions? How that we should function, how we should act, how to get the most out of life, or how to get the most out of the creation? And we think about that, that's a question for us to ask. Does a person who creates something know how to get the most out of it? How it should operate? Does he know what keeps it running, keeps it alive, keeps it going? Is there a purpose for what the Creator has created? And should it function within that purpose? Can we know a bit more about the creation than the Creator? In other words, let's take something that is created, and we come along and we say, I know more about this than the person who actually created it, or in this case, God. Those are the kind of questions. So Paul's discourse here to the Roman church is about the Creator God. And it's an interesting that he should write to the Roman church in this regard and start his letter in this way. So he talks about a gospel of righteousness from God that is revealed. Now there's a couple of things here, 3 that we want to touch on. The first of all, it is a righteousness. Number 2, it is from God. And number 3, it is revealed. Now, how can you know that? How does that change your perspective? It is, first of all, it's about a righteousness, that which is right, that which is good. Remember what the Creator said about His creation in Genesis chapter 1? What He had made and the way in which He had made it it was good. Okay? So that's kind of like it's right. And where did it come from? Well, again, we read there that God breathed the breath of life. God is the one who created it. It came from God. And then thirdly, it's revealed. How would we know that? When God made Adam and Eve, made the creation, He revealed Himself. And we see that. It's an important, three important points there. A righteousness, though, that also is by faith. That is, you got to trust. So we're thinking about the things which we trust that are created, like the brakes on the Toyota Prius or the pedal on these Toyotas. You see, those are things that we've kind of trusted, but all of a sudden our trust has kind of gone down the tubes because they found that there's some malfunctioning things on there, and so people are a bit afraid to drive what they have. But we're talking about something that we can trust, and we can trust in God. We have faith. And it tells us here in this verse, from first to last, from the beginning to the end, kind of like the Alpha and the Omega, that we can trust in that. Faith also suggests another thing. Faith suggests here in this that we don't know everything. Because if you know it, you don't have to have faith in it. Because you know it. Faith requires a certain trust in something you don't know. And then Paul says that the righteous shall live by faith. Now, there's a tendency to think that if you're the righteous, you're God's righteous, then you're going to know everything. And the reality of what Paul is saying is, no. The righteous live by faith. You don't know everything. Did Abraham know everything? No. But he was counted as a faithful man. Did the prophets know everything? Well, Jesus tells us that. You know, what we see, he said the prophets desired to look into, but it wasn't their time. God wasn't revealing. There are things that God is giving to us, helping us to know and to understand. And it also is a reminder that you don't have to know everything to have a relationship with God. You don't have to know everything, which is a little bit in opposition to what Adam and Eve were told back in the garden. If you know everything, then you'll be as God. But God suggests to us that we don't have to know everything. So get in the car and drive. I've created it, and trust me, that it'll work. And drive it according to the instruction book, because there is a manual that goes along with the instruction that is given to us. Not always has there been this full manual that we have now. So we see that. So then he tells us the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all ungodlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is made plain to them because God has made it plain to them. So now we're finding here in Paul's synopsis here that God has made things known. It can be known. What can be known? Well, we can know that there is a God, according to the Apostle Paul, and we can know that through the things which God has created, is what he is telling us. And God has made it plain. It is obvious. It's right before your faces. It's right before your eyes. But it's amazing how that things could be hidden in plain view. Some of the greatest camouflage is in plain view. You just simply cannot see it. Because your mind won't focus on that. It sees it a different way. And we've done images of things, and what do you see in this particular image? And depending on where your mindset is, you can or cannot see it. And but Paul is telling us that we can know God by the things which he has created.
Feeling the blues today, or tired of life already? Do you have questions about life, or need spiritual advice? We can help. Log on to worldwidechurchofgod.com or wcgfairfield.blogspot.com and stay connected to reality. The Worldwide Church of God in Fairfield, Santa Rosa, and Modesto are located in the San Francisco Bay Area, regarded as the most prosperous region in the United States. We believe Jesus Christ when he proclaimed in Matthew 6:24 that serving God is more important than serving mammon. We welcome everyone to come and worship and fellowship every Saturday at the times listed on your screen and on our website, worldwidechurchofgod.com.